Does anybody else find it insane how much of our childhood we spend in a classroom? As soon as you're old enough to be in a room without shitting your pants, bam, you're just thrown into kindergarten. And from that day until you're 18, school becomes your full-time job. 5 days a week, 10 months a year for 14 years. And even then, it's still not over, because if you want a job other than serving fries, well, lucky you get to spend 4 more years in college or university. In that amount of time getting educated, you think we'd all be geniuses walking around contemplating Shakespeare's use of metaphors while simultaneously calculating the parabola of the sun's descent in order to figure out the time we should head home to our wife who's waiting with a protractor to see if tonight we can achieve an obtuse angle in the bedroom rather than acute. Well, obviously something went wrong, because last time I checked, our world is littered with dumb people. Like, I constantly find myself being blown away reading emails by how many people lack basic writing skills, or the amount of people in line at a store who can't do the simplest math to calculate their change. Yet, all these people spent years in school. So what happened? The problem is that we're not learning, we're regurgitating. Because we're only taught what we need to know to pass a test, not pass at life. So for years we repeat this cycle of constantly memorizing useless facts for a grade and then forgetting it all a few days later, since by then we've gone and secure empty trash that shit from our minds to make room for the next batch of useless information. Information that you just Google today if you really needed to know. Also, now that I'm an adult, I can officially confirm what we all knew as kids, and that's nearly everything we're taught has never applied once in my everyday life. And believe it or not, I was actually an A student. Yet now when I look back at my tests and assignments, I have no idea what any of this crap is. So if what we're being taught has no use in our adult lives, then what use does a kid have learning it? I mean, there I am, my balls haven't even dropped, yet I'm learning equations to calculate the density of my balls and the speed of the drop. A big reason why I believe our world is full of so many uneducated people is because school kills our desire to want to learn. Education becomes something we all quickly learn to hate. Which is really sad, because you think education is something kids would enjoy. Like, when you're a kid, you're new to the planet, you have a million questions about everything. That's why we bug our parents all day asking, why this, mommy, why that? But once school begins, that curiosity quickly fades. We stop asking why, we start asking why. It also doesn't help that school doesn't take consideration to what we want to learn about. Like, even subjects you didn't care for, if they were taught in a more engaging way, you might have realized a whole passion you never thought you had, changing your entire direction in life. To this day, I'll often come across a random subject from elementary school again, like, say, ancient Egypt, and I'll think, holy shit, like, how did they build the pyramids, man? This is mind-blowing. But back then, you didn't care, because it wasn't taught in an interesting way. And you were so busy memorizing the spelling of people's names, the years of birth, and other random useless facts that you had no time to actually be interested in what you were learning about. By the way, fuck Shakespeare. Every single year from grade 6 till my second year of university, I had a class where we spent some time studying Shakespeare. I mean, why? I mean, the writing is 400 years old. Back then, English was like a different language. I mean, it still makes no sense to me to this day. If you want kids to maybe get something out of English class, maybe give them something that's actually written in English. Oh my God, genius! Also, I am convinced if Shakespeare wrote in modern day English, teachers would find the stories disgusting. It would be like reading prequels to 50 Shades of Grey in class. But I guess the lesson here is that if you write anything in old-fashioned English, then thou can say anything, and they who come hither to question thy writing skills shall be banished from whence they came. And that's a big problem with schools, that so much of what we're taught is about the world of our past, and so little has anything to do with our present world. And isn't that the whole point of school, to prepare us for the world ahead of us, not behind us? Look, I'm not against school. I think the idea of school is great. In fact, some of my best memories are just being around all the random weird people you meet through the years at school. My issue with school is the system of how we're taught, because how much can you truly learn being surrounded by 4 walls each day? And then you get home, and then you can't even relax because you have hours of homework to do. And it leaves us with no time to actually just clear our minds and think or explore the world firsthand. And isn't that what education should really be about? Instead, school teaches us not to question what we're taught, to abide by the textbook, think within the box of a rubric, and do what the teacher says, like there's some almighty authority figure. It's no wonder when we graduate, we wear a square on our head, just to make sure everyone knows how great we are at thinking inside the box. It feels like the goal is to raise us to be suitable employees, not suitable people. When you think about it, school kind of feels like a giant practice run of waking up at unhealthy hours every morning 5 days a week so we can get used to that 9-to-5 lifestyle. And then to ensure we transition to that 9-to-5 life, we have to pay tens of thousands of dollars just to go to college or university, which puts many people in debt and forces many to start working jobs they hate right away. Education is the most important part of our lives because it builds the foundation of who we are as people. And I think a lot of the problems with today's world are a result of our poor education system. Because when your education system creates uninformed people with no curiosity to learn who are forced to work jobs they hate to pay debt from school, well, it's no wonder our world is a mess. That's my rant on the education system, and By the way, all those teachers always telling me to stop talking in class, well, I'm still talking. So what you gonna do about it, motherfuckers? Woo!